Hi, I'm Mark W. Gray, and in this video I'm going to show you how to slate properly using one of these, a good old-fashioned scene slate. This is important because for a lot of you, that'll be your first job on a movie set. You're going to get asked to help out on an inexpensive, low-budget shoot, and they're going to hand you one of these and expect you to know what to do with it. There's a wrong way to do it, there's a lot of wrong ways to do it, and there's a right way to do it. Actually, a few right ways to do it. I'm going to teach you all about how to do it perfectly so you come off looking like a champ. Slating properly is important for a lot of reasons. First of all, it's important for each of your shots to have unique, accurate names, identities, where you can find these shots later on and you know what they are with a visual reference. Secondly, you might need to synchronize the sound to the picture. In the old days, film came through a film camera, which had no sound on it at all, and still does that way if you're using film, and sound is recorded on a sound recorder, on tape, now on digital, in the early days on wire recording even. These would run at a constant speed. They didn't go any faster or slower. But when they were up to speed, then you would roll the sound and roll the film, and then you would clap the stick together so you'd have audio and a visual marker that you could then line up in editing to synchronize the sound. Now these days, the sound kind of is already synchronized. If you're shooting on a video camera, the sound might go straight into it. But more likely these days you're shooting with a Canon 5D like I'm shooting with here and recording on some kind of audio recorder which is separate. I could put the audio right into this camera, but it's a little bit too compressed for my taste on the 5D. I like to record on a separate audio recorder and then synchronize them later. But suffice to say, often you have the sound recorded on something separate from what the picture's recorded on. And even if they're recorded on the same thing now, they might become separated in the future, so it's worthwhile to get a good solid slate and label everything both visually and with sound. And also slating is important because it sort of focuses the whole crew. There's a ritual of all the things that get said leading right up to when the director says action. And if a crew can do those things consistently, they can work more efficiently. It's almost like the ritual is what tunes up everyone's attention and gets you all focused on the same thing so you can make great shots. All right, let's learn how to slate. Okay, this is a traditional sound slate. If you want to get really traditional, the ones in the 30s and 40s and 50s were chalkboards, and you wrote on them with a piece of chalk. But this is plexiglass, and you write on it with a dry marker. This is often called a mouse. They give you a slate and a mouse if this is your job. Why is this called a mouse? Well, because traditionally they give you a powder puff from the makeup department taped on the end to use as an eraser. And that looks kind of like a mouse. When you pull out of your pocket, you've got a mouse in your pocket. If someone says, I need a mouse, where's the mouse? They're talking about the dry marker pen for the slate. The last few years, there's this great invention, which is the dry marker eraser that goes right on the back end of your dry marker pen. And for my money, this is like a Nobel Prize level improvement on the slate mouse. So be sure to go to your local Staples or any office supply store, and when you buy your regular normal dry markers for your slate, be sure to buy a bunch of these because they're a wonderful thing. Also, when you're slating, it's important not to put the slate down and forget where it is, or not to lose the pen or give it to someone. If you're doing slate, take care of your tools. Make sure that you don't misplace them. I've done this clever trick where you put a piece of Velcro on the back of the slate and a little bit of Velcro wrapped around your pen, and then it just sits there pretty as you please, so it's there whenever you need it, and you don't lose it. Try that. I recommend it. You'll go far. Okay, on the slate, there are places to write all sorts of information. Up here, under prod, that means production, you write the name of the show that you're working on. That you should be able to find out from the call sheet or from the person who asked you to come in the first place. Then it says roll, scene, and take. Take, of course, is which try you're doing of the scene that you're at. Scene is what the name of the shot you're doing is. And the roll, again, going back to film, every roll of film is unique. You start with roll 1, and you keep going to roll 2, roll 3, roll 4. That's with your A camera. Your B camera, again, starts at roll 1, roll 2, roll 3. A roll of film, obviously, can only be used once. It gets exposed, developed, put in the lab, printed, and all of that. These days, we shoot mostly on digital media, which can be used over and over and over again. So roll is not really a significant thing. It is a good idea to keep track of the identity of your card. Like the person who owns the camera probably has numbers for each of their cards. But it's also important to know which camera you're using, because as digital media has become so much cheaper than film, so have the cameras, and so have multiple copies of the cameras. So where in the old days you're more likely to have one camera shooting film, today you're more likely to have a bunch of cameras shooting digital. So under roll, you might put the names of the cameras. Like if you had two cameras, you'd have an A camera and a B camera. I've only got an A camera here, so I'm going to put an A here, and I'm going to put a 1 because I'm on card number 1. The reason it's important to write down the number of the card is not because you're going to find that card in 6 months and get your show off of it. You're going to get the show off of it right away. But if there's a problem with one of your shots, there might be a problem with your media, and you want to be able to track it down to the individual piece of media. That's what that's for. As far as the scene goes, that goes right here. Let's say we're shooting scene 23, and the take is right there. 23, take 1. That's the first shot we're going to shoot today on our set, okay? Now, if I'm slating this scene, I'm ready and eager to clap this thing together and synchronize the sound of the picture. But it's important that I know when to do that. And hopefully you've been briefed and trained and sort of rehearsed by the camera crew. If you're doing the slate, you're part of the camera crew. You might be the second camera assistant technically. But again, this is sort of a lesson for someone who's trying this for the first time and might be just helping out. But if you got one of these in your hand, you are a very important part of the camera crew. Try and pay attention. Try and notice what the shot is. Usually, again, with digital cameras, there are monitors everywhere. You could probably see one either on the camera, or behind the camera, or over in the video village, and you can see what the shot is, so you know where to put the slate, okay? Know what the shot is, and when it's time to slate, you put it into the frame, right in the middle of the frame, big enough for the numbers to be read. Now, I'm shooting this with a really wide angle lens, okay? I can reach out and touch the camera. I'm just doing this to sort of demonstrate how it works. Now, if you were shooting me in this shot, you wouldn't want to slate it way back here where the numbers are really small. That's hard for the editor to see on their monitor. The better place to slate it would be to right here, right by my face, okay? Now, when do you put the slate into the frame? There's a whole sequence of events. It's sort of like dominoes that lead one to the other. Everyone rehearses, everyone's ready to shoot. It's the job of the assistant director to keep track of everyone and know when it's time to actually pull the trigger and start shooting. That person will say, when they detect that everyone's ready, it's time to shoot, they'll say, roll sound. Usually you roll sound first because sound is cheaper than film. Even when it was tape and film, it was so much cheaper. You could let that roll for a while and not worry about it. Your most expensive thing was film. Again, now it's digital. There's no expense to it at all, but still it's a little bit slightly more precious. So you roll sound first, and then when sound says speed, meaning that they're rolling and ready to record at the correct speed, then you put the slate into the camera. And again, you're under the direction and supervision of the camera operator. Keep an eye on them, and they'll tell you a little to the right, a little to the left, up, down. And then when they say mark it, that means they can see it. And then you say what's on the slate and you clap it together. 23, take 1, marker. Just like that. It's important to say exactly what's on the slate because your voice goes on the soundtrack and this picture of these numbers and letters go on the film or the tape or the digital medium. And saying exactly what's on there is what's important. You don't have to read all of this or all of this, just the scene number and the take number. Say that, 23, take 1, marker. And then get out of the way, okay? That sounds really simple, but there's a lot to it. When you put the slate in, you don't want to put it in too soon. Like if they roll sound and you put it in like that, maybe the camera operator is not ready. Maybe they're still trying to focus on the actor. Maybe they're still trying to make sure their framing is right. Just pay attention. If they make a gesture, get out of there, or lose the slate or something like that, pay attention and get out of their way. A lot of this communication is just sort of human, eye-to-eye, eye contact kind of communication. You've got to learn to understand your fellow camera crew. When he says slate or he's ready for the slate, you put it right in there. Now, you notice when I put it in there, it's open, okay? Never stick the slate into the shot closed if you're going to open it and close it, because that's confusing for the editor, the person syncing it up. When they see the slate closed, that means that it's been shut already. So the clap is in the past, and they're going to wind back looking for it. So always have it open when it comes into the frame. And then when you mark it, 23 take 1, close it, leave it closed, and take it out of the frame. Okay? Always come in with it open and leave with it closed after you mark it. Okay? Now, sometimes you do shots that don't have sound, but you still want to shoot slates because, like I said, you want to label the shot anyway. Now, there's a place on your slate where you can write MOS usually, but what people mostly do is just put their hand in between the sticks. If someone says, let's shoot an MOS slate, you write whatever number is appropriate, and you hold your hand on the slate and shoot it like that. That's so anyone can look at this. Any editor in the future can look at this shot and know that slate is not going to close. There is no clap to look for. There is no sound to go with this shot to look for. So if you want to indicate you're doing an MOS shot, just put your hand in the sticks just like that. That's how you do an MOS slate. And again, MOS means without sound. The myth is it means without sound by some German director, by Otto Preminger. Someone else says it means minus optical sound. I don't know. It doesn't matter. MOS now means no sound. So put your hand through the sticks like that for an MOS slate. It is still important to mark every slate. Like I said, everything has to have an identity. Now, how do you know what to write on the slate? Well, certain things are obvious. The name of the movie goes at the top. This movie's called How to Slate. I've written it in slate marker here, but if I was going to work on this for a while, I'd make a nice piece of tape with Sharpie that said How to Slate really neatly, because that's not going to get erased, and it'll stay clean, the way Mark W. Gray, my name, has stayed clean on here. Director and camera. This might seem obvious, but these are both people. The director obviously is a person, but camera, that means cameraman or camera person. That means the director of photography, not the camera operator. That means the person who's on the call sheet as the director of photography. They may or may not be operating the camera. Their name goes right there. Again, these are sort of permanent positions. If you're going to work all day on this or all week on it, you might want to put the names on a piece of tape. The date goes here, how many frames per second you're shooting, whether you're doing day or night. You can just circle these as necessary. Okay? Again, we talked about the roll. We're just using the A camera here, and this is my card number 1. If we were using two different cameras, if we had an A and a B camera going, we might be on A1 and B3. So if you saw that shot, you would know that there were two different cameras rolling on it. And when you slated it, if you were slating two cameras, you would say, you'd say 23-1, you'd say C23 take 1, A and B common marker. That means that both the A camera and the B camera shots will be able to match up with that same slate and that same piece of sound later on in the future. That's more of a challenge to get it in there so both cameras can see it. You might show it to the A camera, then show it to the B camera, and then say A and B common marker, and clap it where they can both see it. Okay? Now, as far as the scene number goes, I've just chosen scene 23. In my imaginary film we're making today, we're on scene 23. That number is in the script, okay? But you will get it from the script supervisor. That's the person on the set who, funnily enough, supervises the script. They have a script in their lap in a big binder, and they've kept track of all the notes for the whole production of what's been shot, what needs to be shot, what coverage has been done already. So if you have a script supervisor, they will tell you what number should be on the slate. Like maybe you're back shooting the rest of a scene that started yesterday. They'll know what number you left off on. Again, the scene number, that's the scene number in the script. Interior day, taco shop. And then here's a scene. Then the next scene is exterior night somewhere else, okay? That's scene 23. Now, the first shot you do from that scene, usually that's called a master shot. That's a big shot where you can see everything happening. It doesn't have to be shot in that order, but it usually is. That first shot you do is numbered scene 23. Take 1, okay? They say, okay, that was great. Let's do it again. So we're doing another take. So you put take 2 on there. And then when you're ready to select that, they say marker, and you say 23, take 2, mark. Just like that. Then maybe we'll do take 3, okay? Again, it's not up to you. Someone else is going to tell you. But just pay attention and be ready for it, okay? We do take 3, just like that. Now, okay, we've got it. If they love take 3, we're moving on. That means we're going on to a new shot, but in the same scene. Most scenes take lots of shots. That's called coverage, because we're covering all the different angles, all the different details of the scene. You might have a big 2-shot, then you might have a closer 2-shot, and then an over-the-shoulder this way and a close-up, then an over-the-shoulder this way and a close-up. Those are all pieces of coverage. You might have an insert of what's on the table, etc. Now, all of those individual pieces of coverage are all still scene 23, but they have different names. All right, the first one, like I said, is just called 23. Then when you go in for a close-up, the next shot you do is called 23A. And you put it on the slate just like that. It should be take 1, okay? And again, you want to try to be neat. So the next slate is 23A, take 1. Hopefully you have enough time to make sure. I think I have a better pen here. Now you see these pens, they don't last forever, so it always makes sense to have a spare. There's my spare on the back of the slate. So 23A, okay? Okay, we do that close up. Let's say we've done that close up 4 times. Take 1, take 2, take 3, take 4. They like take 4. We're moving on to the next setup. The next setup is 23B. Take 1. And again, where you put the slate, how you clap it, that's the same for every shot. Get it in close enough to read, not too tall, too small where it's like that, but big enough to be legible and understandable and in focus for the camera. And you want to work with the camera operator and the camera assistant to make sure that they can see it. And just communicate. That's the key. Now, your script supervisor will tell you what the next letter should be if you lose track. They'll know, oh, now we're on 23N. We've done a lot of coverage on this scene. We're up to 23N. Now, often when you clap the slate, it's fun to say a letter. It's also helpful to say a letter because a lot of letters sound the same. You know, B sounds like P, sounds like D, sounds like G. So that's why when you're slating, just like when you're talking on a ham radio, instead of A, B, C, you say Alpha, Bravo, Charlie. So 23 November, take 1. November, I think, is the official Army word for the letter N. Now, you can make up your own words. You can be cute about it. It's always a good time to make up different words. Maybe you're doing all foods today or all animals tomorrow. But remember your place. Read the room. It's great to be funny with your letters and everything, but again, this is not about you, okay? You should be doing your job efficiently and charming and lovely so everyone likes you and wants to have you back, but you don't have to steal focus, okay? Especially if we're doing something intense and the actors need the kind of sacred space in front of the camera to prepare and to be good actors. If it's all quiet and they're trying to really prepare and be method and take their work seriously, and everyone's like, okay, ready, roll camera. You don't want to go in and go, 23 nipples, woohoo! You know, because that is inappropriate, okay? You want to read the room and only be as funny as is appropriate with your funny words for the letters. By that same token, if it's a quiet scene and the camera's really close and the mic is really close, you don't put the slate in there and bang the heck out of it because that's very jarring and unpleasant for the talent. You want to mark it softly. The mic will hear it if it just closes, just like that. So you might say, 23 November, take 1, soft sticks. If you say soft sticks, that is a message to the editor to listen for the soft sticks. They'll be looking for a tall spike in the soundtrack to sync up, and it might not be as tall. So if you say soft sticks, they know what to expect. Okay, we got 23N in one take. They really nailed it, and you're a part of that, and you should get credit. So what's after 23N? 23O? Aha, no. If you put 23O on the slate, that looks like 230, and that's confusing. So you never use O. You go right to P. So after 23N, you go right to 23P. We got a lot of shots in this scene. We're really getting it. Never use O and never use I because they look like zeros and ones. That's very important. Now, if for whatever reason they've missed the sticks, like they weren't rolling when you thought they were rolling, or you were moving, or you didn't get it in the shot, or whatever, they'll call for second sticks. Be ready for that. So they go, second sticks, second sticks. You come back in with the slate, make sure everyone can see it, and they'll say marker, indicating that they're all ready to see it. And you say 23 Panama, take 1, second sticks. And then get out. I should also mention that when you get out of the way after you mark the thing, you should have planned ahead to where you're going to go. Because obviously you have to get out of the shot, but you should also get out of the eye line of the actor, out of the view of the director, out of everyone's way. And you should know where you're going to go. The dolly might be moving, the actors might be crossing. Things are happening, and you need to be not in the way. So you've got to plan your escape route so that after you mark the sticks, you can get out of the way silently as fast as possible. Just think about it when you're doing slate, so you're not in the way and they're not waiting for you to call action. In some situations, you can't do the slate at the beginning of the scene at all. So you have to do what's called a tail slate. Tail means end, head means beginning. Instead of a head slate, you can do a tail slate. That just means you wait until the end of the scene, and when they say cut, you say tail slate, tail slate. Hopefully they remember to not cut and wait for the tail slate. And you come in with the slate upside down like that. You say, 23, Panama, take 1, tail marker. And then turn it right side up so they can actually read it. But the upside down slate means it's a tail slate. Again, you come in with it open, close it, and keep it closed throughout the rest of the scene. Now these days, your regular old-fashioned scene slate is not your only option. There are all kinds of iPad apps that behave just like movie slates, just like that right there. It's very cool, actually, because you can put in your different information right there. You got your sticks, your scene numbers. You touch the sticks, and it'll clap. Just like that. It's got the time code, like a very expensive time code slate. Usually a real time code slate costs thousands and thousands of dollars. This is about a $50 app. I think there's even $3 apps that do the same thing. The way this one works, you mark it like that, and then at the end of the shot, you hit end of shot, and then yes, and then it'll go ahead and update and make it take 2 for you. All this is very clever. But when your battery dies on this, which those of you with iPhones know a little something about, when this dies in the middle of your 8-hour day, this old girl will be there to serve you. And I would much rather put my faith in this and this technology than in this. This has got its points. It's kind of fancy. It's got a lot going for it. But I really personally prefer the slightly more old-fashioned ways. Now, another clever thing to do, especially if you don't have a script supervisor, is to do what's called a camera report. This is a camera report form I downloaded off of the internet. I typed camera report into Google, downloaded that. I did it 2 up on a page so you could fold it in half. And you can tape this right on the back of your slate, just like that. And then it's right there. And then you've got a ballpoint pen in your pocket. And after you do take 1, you write it down. And then take 2, take 3. That way, when it comes time to do the next take, you know what take you're on. And then when they unload the card from the camera or the film from the magazine, you take this report off and hand it in with the shot footage. That way, the editor can have a report of how many takes there are, and they can see exactly what they're getting. Not everyone will do this on your low-budget, cheapy little productions, but it is incredibly helpful to have camera reports of what you're shooting. So months later, you can look back and go, didn't we do 5 takes of that? And you can see, oh yeah, no, we only did 4. Oh, I see. The lights went out after 3 or whatever. And you can make notes about all kinds of different details on these camera reports. They're extremely helpful. Now, these plexiglass scene slates are also translucent, meaning light can shine through them. So if you're out in the sun and the light's shining through this that's glowing too brightly, you've got to be able to be aware of that, so you can put something on the back to block it, like a camera report. Or conversely, if you're shooting somewhere that's very dark and it's hard for them to see the scene slate, you can also just take the camera report off to let the light shine right through. All right, that's pretty much all there is to slating. I hope this has been helpful. Be sure to pay attention on the movie set. That's the most important thing. If this is your job, it's very important. And when they need you to do it, they need you to do it right now without a lot of questions or a lot of fooling around. So keep your eyes open. Know what size the shot is and put the slate in the right place. Know what scene number you're on, so you don't have to ask a bunch of times. Know what the camera operator wants, what they can see, and when they want the slate in and when they don't want it in. Pay attention to what's going on around you and you'll be fine. Remember, When you're clapping the slate on a movie set, you are at the dead center of everyone's attention for that moment when it's happening. And that's a great place to be to really learn how films get made. You can learn so much doing this job. You're going to have a great time. Thanks for watching. Hope I see you again soon.